Gormley. Monday, just after the 12 noon news update, we call it The Best of Saskatchewan, where we profile one of Saskatchewan's over 4,000 charities and nonprofits that do so much for so many in our community. Every single week, we've met charities, large and small, ones based exclusively in Saskatoon or Regina or in certain communities. And this is a great opportunity, not just to learn about the different charitable initiatives, but so many efforts that require us to do something. And obviously, as well, every single charity can use your support. Well, glad to have with us the Lung Saskatchewan. I keep wanting to call it the Saskatchewan Lung Association, but Lung Saskatchewan, Erin Kuan with us, the CEO. This is the group that for over 100 years has been involved in this province, improving lung health, and we find Erin in Saskatoon today. Hey, great to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, John.
I apologize for mangling the name. I'm still back in Saskatchewan Lung Association days.
Not to worry.
I'm sorry. Okay, main initiatives you're doing in terms of the outreach, in terms of the work you do in the community.
Well, you know what? I appreciate that you had maybe a historical reference to the association, because we have been here in the province for over 100 years, and at the heart of our work has always been respiratory care. And that certainly, while that's evolved from the days of our grandparent organization, the Saskatchewan Anti-Tuberculosis League, and days of tuberculosis care, we are in the business of lung health, and that includes education for respiratory healthcare professionals, investment of research, and of course patient and caregiver education and advocacy for healthy lungs.
You know, we tend to see a lot of your work in terms of the environmental issues. I mean, back in the day, of course, leading a lot of the non-smoking initiatives. But do people understand enough about what the health impacts are on people who have lung issues and the amount of support they need and the work you do there?
Well, absolutely. I mean, of course, the last few years, living through a respiratory pandemic, so many of us, I think, became so much more aware of the importance of taking care of our lungs and the air we breathe. You know, people with lung health conditions, of course, continue to still be at a higher risk of infection and susceptibility to things like COVID-19 and other super viruses that are out there. But we've certainly seen an uptake in the last few years, in particular, just even on our website resources, in access to our support groups, and even now that respiratory healthcare professionals are less seconded to the efforts of COVID-19, they're able to get back to now leaning in and really upgrading their professional education as well too. So demand, I would say, has never been higher.
In terms of COPD in particular, and the number of people who've developed chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, you sure encounter a lot of people who are on that journey.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. And you know what, there's, certainly that's one of the very detrimental effects from smoking. But people can also develop COPD from other, genetic disorders like alpha-1 as an example. And that's certainly something that is, we see so many people affected by COPD. And, we work a lot with healthcare professionals to try and, of course, educate our patients that live with that and their caregivers, but also try and do some prevention around keeping people out of hospital and emergency rooms as well.
Erin Kuan, President and CEO of Lung Saskatchewan. Our profile this week on the Best of Saskatchewan, looking at the charities and nonprofits that do so many things in this province. So now that the worst of the pandemic, at least in terms of our social issues, is behind us, I know fundraising was a real challenge in a lot of people in the charitable space. Are you finding that in terms of fundraising initiatives, getting out, raising money, those sorts of things, is that returning to more historic levels?
Well, you know what? It's so interesting, John. Lung Saskatchewan is, I would almost say we were somewhat insulated during the pandemic. We weren't an organization that relied heavily on events. Of course, we do a lot of direct mail, which is one of the most traditional but also proven styles of fundraising, and we do a number of raffles, and those things have absolutely continued. What we found during the pandemic, and many across the sector actually found that things like direct mail and raffles did better. People were at home. A lot of demographics weren't spending the money on whether it's kids' activities or school activities. Maybe we're looking for things to do, had a little more time, a little more disposable income if you weren't affected by layoffs. And so we actually, and we had a lot of work to do during that time. So we were so grateful that people continued to support us through that time. What we're seeing now, and of course this is so much because of what's happening in the economy, is belts are tightening. People may still give. We're incredibly fortunate in this province that I feel like many Saskatchewan residents have typically given in addition to. They don't, we seldom give instead of, but everyone is much more discerning with the dollars that they do have. And so I would say the gift average, if you maybe, previously gave $50 a year, maybe now you're only giving 25, and I think that's where we're really seeing a softening in what people are able to contribute. So we're trying to be innovative. We're trying to find, stick with that tried and true style of fundraising. But we're also actually launching a new event at the end of this month as a way to diversify our revenue streams a little bit as well.
Well, you've led us nicely into that one. So what are we going to expect?
Absolutely. So we have a great event called Cabaret coming up on Friday, March 31st. And it's just that. Cabaret really refers to a fusion and a real variety of entertainment. And so if you think entertainment event that also happens to be raising funds for a great organization, that's what Cabaret is. We've got everything from aerial artists dangling from the ceiling in silks to magicians and great vocalists. Lisa Moen, well known in Saskatchewan, Jody Peters. We've got so much fun stuff, some great live and silent auctions. So, not your typical plated chicken dinner. This is a chance to come out, have some fun, be a part of the entertainment if you want, and really enjoy a night out in support of great initiatives in our province. That'll
be awesome. Jody Peters is one funny guy, too. We've had him on so many times over the years. If people want to learn more about the Cabaret event, end of the month, or generally what they can do to help you at Lung Saskatchewan, what are the best coordinates, Erin?
Thanks so much for asking. The best way is just to go to lungsask.ca. We also have our raffle, spring raffle coming up as well too. So if an entertainment event and being out at a big event isn't for you, you can always support us online through gracious donations or buying tickets on a raffle with your chance to win. And if you have a loved one that is struggling with any sort of lung health issue, from sleep apnea to asthma to COPD, as you mentioned, lungsask.ca, again, a ton of great resources and information. And we also are really fortunate, John, we have 2 registered nurses on staff that staff our helpline and are able to answer calls for people that, for non-emergent purposes, can answer questions as well, too.
That's fantastic. Erin Kuan is with us, President, CEO of Lung Saskatchewan, or lungsask.ca. Okay, last question. If you could look out, how many people and how many lives does your organization touch in a year? I've got to think it's a lot.
Oh my gosh. You know what? That's a great question. I think you stumped me a little bit, but when you think about the number of people that live in our province, so we're over 1 million, and the number of people on average that are affected by, something as, what we might think as simple as asthma, but there's so many different levels of asthma, whether it's allergy-induced, seasonal, all those kinds of things, to the more serious COPD, lung cancer, even lung transplant. We support lung transplant patients in our province. Probably at least 50% of the people in our province either have some sort of lung condition or know someone that does, and that's where the connection lies.
And we are talking about many, many thousands. That, by the way, that was a great answer. You didn't sound stumped at all.
Okay.
Erin, this has been great. Keep up the terrific work at Lung Saskatchewan. And thanks so much for being with us today on The Best of Saskatchewan.
Thank you so much, John. Have a great afternoon.
You too. Take care. Erin Kuan in Saskatoon, President CEO of Lung Saskatchewan, or lungsask.ca.